Have you ever wondered what happened between Lin Beifong and Tenzin last name unknown? Well, stick around, I'm about to break their relationship down. Hey there, welcome back to another Avatar theory on the Fangirl. I'm McGann, your resident obsessee of Korra culture, and hopefully you've already watched season 1 of Korra on Netflix, but for those of you who haven't or need a refresher, in a nutshell, Katara and Aang's third son Tenzin turned out to be the only airbender among their children, and when Tenzin was a young man out and about in Republic City, he ended up in a relationship with Toph's daughter Lin, and it's really not a hard couple to imagine. Toph grew up to become the police chief of Republic City, a place that Aang and Zuko founded together, and Tenzin was drug around everywhere like he was Aang's right hand, whereas Lin was basically Toph's successor. So Tenzin and Lin have known each other since they were babies, and they're both very serious and very focused. I'm sure it also didn't hurt that Lin and Tenzin could kind of commiserate with each other. You know, they both ended up with these huge burdens to bear thanks to their parents. And both of them are very passionate about their heritage. As Toph's daughter, Lin carries around a lot of prestige, but that also comes with a lot of weight to carry on metal bending and the Republic City police force. Then poor stressed out Tenzin had an entire culture to salvage. It's certainly not easy to be part of a class of one for the next generation of air nomads. So on paper, Tenzin and Lin seem like a perfect match. So what could have tore them apart? Well, step into the age of Korra's teenage years, and we have Tenzin's wife Pema explaining that she was secretly in love with Tenzin from afar. One day Pema just got fed up and she said, you know what, even though he's with Lin, I'm gonna speak up about this because I think he's supposed to be my soulmate. And then she does, and Tenzin ends up leaving Lin and having 4 children with Pema. And that's where things get kind of murky. Some people like to deem Pema as a homewrecker, but you know what? Let us not dismiss Tenzin's choice in this matter. He could have said, oh no, I'm perfectly happy and in love with Lin, so I would never dream of doing her dirty like that. But he didn't. He saw an opportunity to move on, and he took it. So that's on Twinkletoes Jr., not Pema. Big boy made big boy decisions. But it's also one thing to be dating for a few days or weeks or months and be like, you know what? This isn't working out, I think we should break up. How do you break up with a person that you've been with since you were a little kid? What we know about this breakup is that Tenzin defends it by saying, oh, it wasn't Pema's fault, Lin and I had been growing apart for years. Which, credit where credit's due, he doesn't say that she broke them up. So good on you, Twinkletoes Jr. But it also comes across like Tenzin was just waiting for something to come along so that he'd have an excuse to get rid of Lin. To the contrary though, Lin said that she completely tore up Air Temple Island when Tenzin dumped her. So obviously she wasn't bored or ready to move on from that relationship like Tenzin was. And I would bet you that Lin and Tenzin really hit it off in their younger days, but after Toph retired and Aang died, it became different situations where they were moving in different life goal directions. It's a lot easier to make a relationship work when you don't have any responsibilities to worry about and you have no expectations to put on your partner. Once you start trying to build a life together, you kind of need to have the same momentum in the same direction, otherwise it's all wibbly wobbly mess. And truly, I think having kids are where Tenzin and Lin really started drifting apart. In later seasons, Lin speaks as if she's always had zero interest in having children. She even says something like, yeah, Mom always said children were a blessing, but she was lying.
5 kids, what a nightmare.
No, my children are a blessing.
Yeah, Mom used to say that too, but she never meant it.
Lin's focuses were her work and trying to chase her mother's approval by living up to these extremely unrealistic high standards. And even though Tenzin carries around the weight of his father's demands too, so you would think that they could continue to commiserate off of that, Tenzin does ultimately know that he has to have children. It's all on Tenzin to produce the next generation of airbenders, otherwise he's just ruined his father's legacy. Imbalances! And having grown up in that situation himself, Tenzin would want to have as many children as possible, so that way he doesn't put all the pressure onto one child to be the next generation of airbenders after him. Teamwork makes the dream work. So Tenzin's ultimate life goal is to repopulate the world with airbenders all by himself. Get ready, Pema, daddy's coming. So when Pema shows up and raises her hand as a potential love interest, it really changes things. It went from Lin being the relationship that Tenzin wanted, the relationship that made sense and felt safe, into Pema providing the relationship that lets Tenzin fulfill his prime directive. And I'm not even confident that Tenzin was in love with Pema. I think now he definitely does love her, but it was never that hot and heavy kind of chemistry. Their relationship had more of this, hey, this arranged marriage ain't so bad kind of vibe to it. And dear sweet Pema was willing to have children and become an heir acolyte, something I wouldn't really see Lin being willing to devote her life to. Plus, ultra special bonus, Pema is not a bender, which means it would be more likely for airbending genes to pass forward through her children and Tenzin. I know the DNA of airbending is really unclear in the show. However, as we saw with Aang's own children, two different types of benders having kids together just really gives you a mixed bag of results. Bumi was born powerless, Kaya was a waterbender, and then finally Tenzin arrives to become the next generation of airbenders. Party of one. And we see the same thing with Mako and Bolin. Their father San was an earthbender and their mother was a firebender, so we have Mako the firebender and Bolin the earthbender. And that kind of makes bending powers come off as dominant and recessive. So basically, you don't need to have the gene from both sides of your parents to have bending abilities, which would mean it's dominant, but having the bending gene doesn't necessarily mean you'll get powers either. Otherwise, Katara's grandmother and at least one of her parents would have been waterbenders too. So in that regard, the bending gene really acts recessively as well. Also, it's worth noting that if you have two different types of benders and they have children, there would be fairly good odds that some of the kids would have two powers. It would be something like a 1 in 4 chance that Mako or Bolin would have two different bending styles. They would have fire and earth. Although Bolin does end up lava bending, which is basically earth and fire mixed together, so would that be because he has bending genes from both sides? Well, that's something to explore for another day. Too off topic for now. Long story short though, Tenzin could probably guess that if he and Lin were to have children, it would be a much lower chance that they would become those much needed airbender babies. Pema, on the other hand, was a non-bender, so it was much more likely that those airbender genes could rise to the surface if Tenzin reproduced with her. So if Pema was willing, she would be a much more logical choice for a mate than Lin. And I could totally see Tenzin trying to explain that to Lin when he dumped her, and that's why she tried to tear apart Air Temple Island. It wasn't just, hey, this isn't working out, let's break up. Lin got a Tenzin typical lecture on why she would be an unfit wife or mother for the future of the Air Nation. Yeah, I'd tear that place up too if that happened to me. Just saying. And I do agree with popular opinion that Lin and Tenzin just kind of clash too much to ever be a good married couple, but you know what I can't decide? Did Lin initially date Tenzin because he was Aang's son and she thought Toph would like that? Or did she date Tenzin because he's a very stable, grounded, serious type, so he was kind of the father that Lin never got to have? I really think it's a mix of both of those things, along with the fact that Tenzin's probably the only person to know Lin beyond her gruff type of exterior. Tenzin and Lin grew up together, and Lin had already cut ties with her sister Sue, so from Lin's perspective, that breakup was Lin losing her brother, best friend, father, and lover all in one swipe. And that's not to say that it's fair of Lin to expect Tenzin to fulfill all of those emotional roles for her, but at the same time, could she really help it? Considering everything that Lin has been through in her life, I don't think it would have been a conscious choice to put all of that emotional baggage onto Tenzin's shoulders. Unfortunately, Aang had already put so much baggage there that he was kind of full. But I think overall, Lin really never had anyone else that she felt close to or safe with other than Tenzin, so that breakup was something she never got over. And we do see that reflected in a middle-aged Lin who has no friends, no family, just work, work, work. Man, being an adult is messy and complicated, so be good to each other out there, okay? It might not be reality, but theories are something. Not really fun this time, but soul-crushingly real. For people who've been asking about Kato, here he is. Say hi, beautiful. He is not photogenic. If I have this door closed, the cat's like, let me in, I need to be with you. But he doesn't actually want to be with me, he just wants to be like all around me, chewing up stuff and knocking things over. And like, hey, you're not paying attention to me. Big brain time. Imbalance! Imbalances! Imbalance! Chasing her mother's approval by living up to Toph's extremely high I know the DNA of bending is really unclear in the show, but as we saw with Aang and Katara's... It was a Tenzin typical lecture on why Lin would be an unfit light... Well, family members, we're almost done, but I want to invite you to hang out with me in some other places. I'm on Twitter and Instagram as my own personal self, and I have a Facebook page too, but I mostly just post photos over there. And sometimes people say, hey McGann, I want to mail you something. How do I do that? Easy. Just click the About tab on my channel page, and my most current P.O. Box info will be right there. I also run another channel, The Family. It's really a hodgepodge channel where we might post anything. Oh yeah, and I also sell shirts and stickers and stuff with the Family and the Fangirl logos. If that is your cup of tea, I have a link in every description of every video. Finally, if you want to help out the Fangirl channel and make sure I'm putting out video essays for years to come, the best way you can help is by subscribing and watching more of my videos, whether they're new, old, whatever. Maybe even share one or two on social media, help spread the word. People who watch to the end of videos like you helps to tell the site, hey, this is a good video, we should recommend it to other people. So if you made it this far, leave me a comment of something like, hey, I made it to the end. Love ya. See you next time, family members. Bye.